This is Do It for a Living, your source for inside information on the future of automotive performance.
One bad thing that might not even happen at your event, it happens at a competitor's event or something, could change the entire sport.
What's holding you back from starting or growing your business into what it can be? Well, if you're listening to this, it's not a lack of information. What you're about to hear is all you need to get motivated and start making waves. Do It for a Living podcast details the journey of today's true players in their own words. Find out how they broke out so you can too. The time is now. The time is always now. So Ryan Fisher is the co-creator of Shift-S3ctor and Rev Clothing, and just passed the bar and became a blood-sucking lawyer in November. Congratulations, Ryan.
Thank you. So Rev Clothing, Jason is a part of. I'm actually not a part of Rev Clothing. Yeah, my partner Jason and Mark, who's the originator of Rev Clothing, they've always been friends, and we just became a lot more involved with each other. And then Jason jumped in because it kind of goes hand in hand with motorsports and apparel, and so it just kind of fell into place.
That's awesome. So Ryan's event is the premier half-mile roll racing event on the West Coast. For those that don't know, Shift-S3ctor is a 2-day event that attracts exotics like Lamborghinis, GTRs, Ferraris, Ford GTs, Corvettes, Mercedes, pretty much everything in between. At Shift-S3ctor, having 800 wheel horsepower is about the middle of the pack.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you even have to say that. I mean, I remember when
that'd be the lower end.
I know. I mean, I remember just a couple years ago when 500 wheel was super fast.
Yeah.
But
your event, Ryan, attracts cars from across the country and Canada, including beasts like OB Prestige Auto's 2,000 horsepower Lambos and Extreme Turbo Systems 2,000 horsepower GTR. Both those cars regularly doing 220 mile an hour in the standing half mile. So many people have tried and failed to create an event with as much following as yours. What do you attribute your event's success? And how did you get it going in just such a short period of time?
I don't know. I mean, I think our success, it really just comes down to the people. Myself and my partner Jason, we met back in 08, 09, and we actually met street racing on the toll roads in Irvine. We used to get
that's where everything starts.
Yeah, so I actually I got invited to go out one morning. I think we were on 6 Speed Online, and I got a message that they wanted to bring me out to, like, a bunch of guys were getting together. They'd do some runs, and so this guy named Robert P., as he was known, would set up these races at like 4:30 a.m. On the toll roads in Irvine, and which is in Orange County, California, and we would meet up, and it was when I had a 600 wheel C5 Z06, and I met up, and I was like 19, 18, and I showed up, and it's these guys with these crazy modded Porsche turbos. I think the Hefner twin turbo Gallardo came out once. There was LP640 with straight pipes, all these crazy cars, and I remember being like, "What the hell am I doing here?" And Jason had a modded 996 turbo at the time, and so we would do these races like Saturday mornings and just go out and have a good time. And the guy who actually organized it, he passed away from leukemia like a year or two after we started doing that. And I think that's probably what brought Jason and I closer to be like, we should keep this going, but we need to find a legal way to basically run some street cars, and yeah, like drag strips are fun, but you're always breaking stuff, you're breaking axles, and for us, they were just getting either closed down drag strips, or it was such a hassle to get to, and there was 150 cars, 200 cars there for a test and tune. It just wasn't worth it. So what started with us is we basically said, well, let's rent out Willow Springs Raceway, which is a road race track down here, and they have a half-mile front straightaway. So we're like, all right, well, what if we did a first half of the day a track day and the second half of the day a roll race day? And we had no idea how that would go. And so we just said, okay, well, let's just get our friends and friends of friends and just see what we can do. And then we realized that to cover the cost, we would need way more people. So and then we also didn't want to be that average Joe posting up on, Corvette forums saying, hey guys, I'm doing this event thing where we race and stuff. Do you want to pay me money and come out? So we decided, okay, well, we need to be more professional. So we need a website, we need a name, we need, a checking account, we need a merchant service, we need a way to collect money. We need waivers. We were like, okay, well, crap, we need to figure this all out. And this was actually during my first semester of law school, which was a terrible idea because that was the busiest time of my entire life. But yeah, so we just kind of on a whim threw this business together to run one event, and we sold it out, and we had 80 cars there, and there was 800 wheel GTRs, modded Vettes, modded Camaros, and we were kind of like, where did all these cars come from? And we realized it was such a hit that we decided, well, let's keep going with it. So then we found that the best location to do a roll race event would be an airport, because it's open runway. There's, generally a tarmac area for staging and parking and vendors. So that's just kind of how it all started. And, 3 years later, here we are. And now we're something that I don't think we ever thought we would be. So.
Right. So when did you know? Did you ever know? And are you still on the fence about doing this full time?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I still know if I was confident in making it work full time. Well, like I said, when we started it was the busiest time of my life as a first semester law student, and Jason has he has a business that he runs, and so we just kind of tried it out within our spare time. And then throughout law school, I just started realizing, or in the beginning of the business, that when I'm in law school, I was putting in 12 hours a day just studying and in class work and all that. But I figured every break I got, or every couple minutes here or a couple hours there, I'd just be looking at car stuff anyways. I'd be on the forums or looking on Auto Trader or, shooting the shit about that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, why not just put that car effort into these events? And that way, it's my downtime and my hobby, but it has the potential to be, a thriving business. So I think I just learned to kind of work with it throughout law school. I just put every minute that I wasn't in law school into the business. And then Jason, was doing it on his side as well. So we kind of would just pick up each other's slack. If I couldn't do something now, he would do it. If he couldn't do something, then I would do it. But it did eat into a lot of my time. I kind of realized throughout law school that I could only that I had three major things in my life: law school, Shift-S3ctor, and girls. And I could only do two at a time.
What was it in that order?
Well, basically, yeah, because I could only do based on the time I had, I can only do two. So 90% of the time was Shift-S3ctor during the day. Or law school during the day and Shift-S3ctor at any minute I had, or on the weekends. And then whenever I had I'd be on breaks or summer or whatever from law school, that's when I dip into the girl pool a little bit and try to get my fix for that before going back into hibernation in attorney race car mode. So
you guys are obviously both ass kickers. You guys are making stuff happen, taking it to another level. What was your single biggest hurdle?
Single biggest hurdle, in the beginning, it really moved pretty quick. And we were kind of lucky with just how it worked. We've had definitely a lot of hurdles in doing what we were going to do. But I would say one of our biggest hurdles was our first ever airship attack event. We were going to do it, at an airport that they film a lot of things at. It's out in the middle of Death Valley. And, we went out there to check it out. We met with the airport manager. We knew nothing about FAA regulations or what we needed to do, but they were like, hey, we film stuff here all the time, no problem. So we were like, all right, we picked a date. We started promoting the event. People started signing up, sending us their money. And then a couple weeks into it, the airport emailed us and said, hey, we can't do this anymore. The FAA is all up our back about it. Sorry. But here's another airport that might be able to do it, but we don't know. So we're like, all right, well, awesome. So we're either going to have to give everyone's money back or just fake it till you make it and just hope this other place works out and it can happen. So the other the other place was called Trona Airport, and it was in the middle of nowhere. When you think middle of nowhere, this was middle of nowhere. This was like 3 hours from civilization, and it was abandoned gas stations, abandoned motels. Like, it was creepy. There was like a salt mine or something. It was very bizarre. And we're driving there in like Jason's wife's like Porsche Cayenne Turbo, and we're like, we should not be here right now. This is a terrible idea. And we get to the airport. It's just like middle of nowhere airport. And the airport manager, owner, walks out of a trailer and he's like, yeah, let's do it. We're good. And we're like, okay. So we said, screw it, and we'll make it happen. And then we got everyone there and we made it happen. But we really kind of were on pins and needles about some stuff, because we're halfway through. We're like, by the way, we're not at this airport anymore. We're at this airport. And we were trying to sell it like, hey, we decided to do it at this airport. This is way better. And
how'd that go?
One, no one else knew any better. We were the only ones who'd seen both airports. And in the end of the day, it was actually a blessing in disguise, because the first airport, based on the caliber of cars that came, the runway probably wouldn't have been long enough to stop the cars that end up coming. That first event, that Trona event, we saw about 85 cars. And I think the 2 cars that won that event was a Switzer E900 GTR, and like second place was a 900 wheel Porsche Turbo. And that was just a crazy event. That was just grassroots. It was literally just 2 cones on the runway, and whoever finished first was it. There was no timing. There was no trophy classes. It was just kind of, this was it. And then it just kind of skyrocketed from there. But that was definitely probably our biggest hurdle, because what we thought we created with like, oh, cool, airport event, we got it. And then they're like, actually, no, you don't got it. So we don't know if we're going to make this happen. And then we did. So
right.
That was pretty crazy.
So in business, you always have to overcome all kinds of hurdles. Things are coming out of left field all the time. So explain to us the worst experience that you've had in business. Was there a time that you were really worried, is this going to go somewhere or not?
Yeah,
take us to that situation.
I would say we had another instance where we thought, I don't know if we'd be able to do this anymore. That was one of our first airship attacks in Coalinga. So we had the one airship attack in middle of nowhere Trona, and then when we saw the growth of it, I was like, all right, we need to find a better location that's a better runway, better conditions, just overall better place. And that's what we found with Coalinga. And I think it was maybe our second event there. And they were still kind of learning what we were doing. And, they in some aspects, they knew exactly what we were doing, but, no one's really done this before, so they didn't know what to expect. And one of the events, we weren't obviously allowed to have alcohol on the property. That was a rule set by the city, no alcohol on the premises. And that's fine. We totally agree. About halfway through Sunday, like the trophy competition, a city official came up to us and found one beer can in a trash can. And they were like, do you guys see this? And I was like, yeah, I see it. It's a beer can. And they're like, we said no alcohol. You guys are done. You're never coming back. I'm sorry. That's it. And we were like, wait, what? There's almost 1,000 people here. You're telling me this over one beer can? And they were like, yep, that's it. Sorry. And so we talked them into just letting us finish the day. But at the end of the day, we're like, oh, crap. Okay, we're not going to be able to come back, because this city official is going to report to the city manager and the mayor and tell them, hey, these guys brought alcohol in the event. It was a terrible event, and we can't let them back. And so
So how'd you overcome that?
So what we did was we basically talked to everybody that was a local resident or even somewhat of a local resident at the event. We gave them the city's email address, and we just said, send them emails, tell them how great of a time you had. And the other thing is we employ a lot of city resources. We use the city's fire, police, security, tow trucks.
That's so badass. Like, that's how you do it.
Well, then we realized, so then they said they would pass it along. But we said that's not going to be enough, so we just went above their head, and we just called the mayor and the city manager that Monday morning to be like, hey, we had a great event. We just wanted to let you know, like a beer can or two was found, but very small. We'll figure that out for the next time. But overall, it was amazing. And so, like, okay, great. And then so we had a conference call and the city official was on it. And the city official said, well, we found alcohol on the premises. And the mayor was like, yeah, it was one beer can. Don't worry about it. We'll figure it out for next time. And so, crisis averted. But if we would have just sat back, and just let it happen, then that city official probably would have painted a pretty bad picture and we probably wouldn't be able to come back. And then it'd be back to square one. So, and then even ironically, the next event, the city sponsored a beer garden. So now we serve alcohol at the event. So, because we basically said, hey, we can't prevent every single person from bringing it in. So why don't we sell it and we regulate it and the city can have the money for it. And they were like, that's a great idea. So, there you go.
Lemonade out of lemons.
Exactly.
So the number one hurdle that I hear from motorsports business people is that people just don't have the money, right? You got to hear that all the time. There's always people just don't have the money. So this event it's an elite event and you guys are sold out in 15 minutes.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's pretty crazy.
Is it just a targeted, right?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. I think you have to set it at a certain price point to appeal to a majority of people, but you don't want every 16-year-old in their stock Civic Si to come out and you fill your 100-car field with a bunch of 300 horsepower cars. So, but it's a balancing act. And for us, I mean, since we were one of the first ones to do this, we kind of set the market price. We figured, okay, well, if a track day is going to run you $150 to $250 a day, depending on the track and the organization and whatever, I mean, it should kind of be in line with that. So that's why we kind of run it at 200 right in the middle of that. And it's affordable enough for most people that, you get the caliber of car out there you want. If you spend 40, 50, 60 grand on a pretty solid, car, another $200 or $300 or $400, isn't going to kill you because to race it on a runway flat out with no cops, no tickets, no nothing is pretty badass. So I think it's a sweet spot for sure. And Jason and I talked a lot about it, and we still talk a lot about that, about the price point. And, people say, well, you sell out so quickly, why don't you up your prices? And for us, it's like, well, we could, and we probably should. But the problem is, the more expensive you make it, then you lose a lot of people and you lose a lot of your following because people say, oh, well, now they're just greedy. Now they want $500 per day now instead of $200 per day. Screw those guys. And so, like I said in the beginning, Jason and I are car guys. We want to go to events, or we want to have events that we would go to. So, again, it's that sweet spot that we just kind of have found to get the right caliber of car and still get the right people out there with not being too expensive or too cheap.
Right. So, Ryan, do you use special software systems to manage payments and scheduling? I mean, it can't all be sticky notes. You guys have a lot of people coming to these events. How do you do it?
Yeah, I mean, for us, we through our website, we use it's an app through WordPress called Event Espresso, and it's pretty nice because it essentially tracks all the payments coming in with all their information, and then what we do is we just put that into an Excel spreadsheet ourselves so we can manage it and put any extra notes and things like that in we need. And we've been doing it through PayPal for a while. We went to a merchant service for a little bit, but we just didn't enjoy it that much. PayPal, it sucks that they take 3% of everything, but it's simple and it's basic, and most people have a PayPal account, so it just makes it easier for the consumer. So that's just kind of how we manage it, just pretty much through the website, through Excel, and through Event Espresso. But another thing we use too is called Trello. I don't know if you've heard of that. I just found out about it less than a year ago. That's when we started using it. It's essentially like a message board of whoever you want to be on it, and it lists out to-do lists. So when someone completes something, they can mark it off on the list, whether it's me doing it or Jason doing it or whoever's doing it. So it's a system that, it's like a kind of a Dropbox or cloud thing that everyone can see what needs to be done and what's been done. And have
you used Basecamp before?
No, what's that?
So Basecamp's really similar to where it's project management where you can post like to-do lists, etc., and everybody, you can invite certain people, and then people can check off tasks as they get completed.
Yeah, it sounds exactly the same type of thing.
Cool. And you guys are using that now?
Yeah, that's what we've started to kind of implement, and it's been pretty good so far. So,
especially as you guys are doing more and more events, throughout the year.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, besides Trello, I mean, that's a software program. How about hardware systems? Like, what do you guys use for a timing system?
So for our events, we use trap speed boards that are from Race America. They're pretty much the only company that does it, and they're pretty pricey. Like a basic setup will run you, between 20 and 30 grand. And It's pretty crazy. And the worst part about it too is a lot of the times it doesn't work perfectly. Well, it never works perfectly, but like there's often times where a battery will just stop charging and we can just spend $500 on a new battery, and like the night before the event, things like that. So, it's kind of, you don't really have a choice, and it's what all the other organizations are using too, because it's pretty much the only company out there. If someone wanted to make some real money, they could probably, make another solution to that. But as of right now, there's nothing out there, and I don't have the time or know-how to start a timing company. So,
right.
But yeah.
So are all of you guys Texas Invitational and Want to Go Fast events? Are you guys friends? Everybody talking and sharing information, stuff like that?
Some are, some aren't.
Is it a competition thing? Is it one event is supposed to be the winning and the best event in the United States?
Not necessarily. I think it just depends. I mean, for example, we've talked with Peter from Texas Invitational and Peter from TX2K and Amar from Texas Invitational, and we're cool with them, and we've talked with them about some stuff. Want to Go Fast we've just never dealt with, since they seem to stay on the East Coast, we stay kind of on the West Coast. But we're all civil with each other. We will reach out to Peter at TX2K or Amar at TI and say, hey, what are your dates? So we don't conflict, because obviously a lot of guys that come to our events go to their events. So we don't want to put our customers in a bad place that they have to pick and choose between us. So we all kind of have that same level of respect and understanding that, hey, we don't want to step on each other's toes. We're all doing a similar thing, but we're also doing our own thing. So, I think that's why it works.
Right. So is there a favorite app? Is there any app that you're using in your business, either as an attorney or in Shift-S3ctor or involved in anything that you're doing? Tell us about a mobile app that works for you. Like I use Mila's Tools, for example. As a tuner, I have to convert from units all the time. So Mila's Tools is a length, mass, and volume conversion tool. Is there anything like that you use?
Not really. I'm as far as apps on my phone go, I'm pretty generic. I pretty much just stick to Instagram and Facebook and the occasional Snapchat. But yeah, I mean, the other thing is I pretty much manage my calendar through like the Apple Calendar, which just syncs to my phone. So I can always just go back, and every day I just review my to-do lists and can add it either on my phone or on my computer, and it syncs up. So I'm pretty simple when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Got it. So, Ryan, if you could go back in time and get a do-over for just one situation in your business, what would it be?
You know what? I don't think there really is one. I mean, I feel for every decision or every event or everything that's happened, good or bad, we've learned from it, and we've been fortunate enough to not have anything catastrophic ever happened to us personally or our business. Yeah, there's always bumps in the road or hiccups, or unwanted competition or whatever, but it pushes you to make a better event. I mean, for example,
that's a badass answer.
Yeah, I mean it does, because we know how it is, and especially with a business that we just kind of went out on a limb and tried. To be where it is today, we're just very grateful. So, we haven't had any major hiccups that really made us, reevaluate, what we've done. We just always push forward and just learn from what we've done. So.
Nice. So to end this conversation, what's the future of automotive performance events to you? I mean, is half-mile racing the future? Because I was talking to a guy at PRI, for example, older guy who's never heard of half-mile roll racing. I was telling him about Shift-S3ctor and kind of the atmosphere and what it's all about, and he was fired up. Like, it was the owner of Swain Tech Coatings, and he was really fired up to go find out about it. So I gave him the link to the website and everything, and I feel like the biggest hurdle is just creating more awareness. Absolutely, and I definitely think the half-mile standard that, you know, we were one of the pioneers to kind of create is the next thing, because, you know, these cars are so fast now, and street cars, and these are street-driven cars that are just so fast that a lot of them don't want to do standing mile events. You know, like they're doing 200, 210, 220 in the half mile. They're like, hey, I don't want to go 260, 270. I have no interest in doing that. Like, and we've talked with guys that are like, would you want to do a mile event? They're like, honestly, no. We're already going fast enough. We don't need to go any faster. So there's that, and I don't know. Like with drag shifts too, you know, our concern is you know, braking stuff. You know, like, yes, fully prepped tracks are obviously going to be better for full blown, you know, drag cars and things that are set up for that. But the beauty of, you know, these half mile events is it's almost, you know, like a street scenario. So how your car runs on the street is how it's going to run essentially on a tarmac. So I just think it's more realistic to be a benchmark of how you can test your car, as opposed to, you know, yeah, well, you know, my car should do 850s in the quarter mile, but you know, it's really going to do an 11 because, you know, it's just not that simple to just run an 8-second quarter mile. Lots of those
exactly,
out there.
You know. So yeah, I just think the half mile is kind of the perfect medium, both from a length perspective, a speed perspective, and just from a breakage standpoint. You know, we rarely see stuff snapping or breaking. Most people just blow their motor, if anything. So, you know, but that's on the street or on a track or anywhere. So.
Gotcha. So, Ryan, what's the future for Shift-S3ctor and Ryan Fisher?
Well, for Shift-S3ctor, we have our upcoming April event in Coalinga. So that'll be Airship Attack in California. Then in June, end of June, we have our Pikes Peak Airship Attack in Colorado Springs, which is the weekend of Pikes Peak hill climb. We have another Airship Attack in California in October, like we normally do, or sometime around there. And then we're actually working on 2 other states right now that talk is in the pipeline. And one of those states will make you guys in the Pacific Northwest pretty damn happy. So
looking forward to that.
Yeah, so we'll know more about that probably in a couple weeks. But things are moving. So
nice.
Yeah.
So how do we connect with you and your company?
So you can go to www.shift-s3ctor.com or facebook.com/Shift-S3ctor. Instagram.
How do you spell Shift-S3ctor?
It's Shift-S3ctor. So it's Shift-S3ctor, but the E is a 3. And the reason for that was because we used to do 3 types of events. We did road course, drag, and drift. And now we've just kind of focused more on the drag roll racing events. But 3 is still kind of cool, so we leave it.
Nice.
But...
Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you having you on the show and learning more about the events. You know, we always start and end our season, or I guess I can't say always, but last year we started and ended our season with your events, and it's perfect timing for us. Like, really look forward to the spring event. We got some cars under the knife right now. Really looking forward to beating the shit out of them at your event.
That's awesome, man. We're stoked.
Awesome. So, hey, check out more details about Ryan Fisher, about Shift-S3ctor, and about Rev Clothing at doitforaliving.net. Ryan, until next time, brother.
Sounds good, man. Good chatting with you.
Thanks, dude. Thanks for listening to Do It for a Living. You can find out more about this guest, this show, and even details about what we just talked about at our website, doitforaliving.net. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/doitforaliving and tell us who you want to hear from. And most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Click subscribe. Do it now. Seriously. I'll wait while you grab your phone. Open up the podcast app. Tap the subscribe button. When you subscribe, you help us gain momentum and attract more high-level guests. Thanks for listening, and good luck.